Enjoy Nice's family of fine foods, including our Jamaican-style patties. This complements Nice's range of premium chicken burger patties, lamb patties, beef hot dog, and our smoked beef and lamb sausages. Also, you can try Nice's halal gummy bears, available at leading supermarkets and at Nice's wholesale outlet. You can also shop for grocery and household items. Nice brand products, 23 Beocle Road, Conopia. Telephone 665-3078 or 665-3079. Nicer is nicer.
يا حبيبي إليك فاض قلبي عشقا بالصلاة عليك طارت روحي حبا في المنام إليك رام كل قربا سيدي لبيك قلبي في المدينة وجد السكينة قال يا نبينا السلام عليك.
Hey kids! My name is Dax, and I am new to Cool Kids team. And my flavor is watermelon. Try one today.
Assalamu alaikum. May the peace and blessings of God be with you. Good evening. You are viewing The Right Fit on IBN, the Islamic Broadcasting Network. Join us as we discuss several topics. I am your host, Bibi Ajoda, former lecturer at Corinth Teachers College and retired school supervisor 3 with the Ministry of Education. We discuss several topics including education, environment, health, and technology, to name a few. This platform aims to inform and educate you, our viewers out there, through our questions and discussions with subject matter experts. Today, we focus on our local authors, sons of the soil. With me in the studio is Mr. Mervyn Critslau, who will tell you about his book coming up. So, avid reader, teacher, parent, sit back, relax, and join us in our discussion. Mr. Critslau, welcome to The Right Fit.
I thank you very much, sincerely.
Now, tell us first of all about yourself. Who is Mervyn Critslau?
Mervyn Critslau began as a journalist, learning the craft in the mid-60s when I left school. A second newspaper started in Trinidad called the Trinidad Daily Mirror newspaper. And I understand that over 800 people applied for that position. They eventually decided on 6 of us. 4 of us ended up after 4 months of training. That paper closed shortly thereafter as the owners, Lord Thompson and Cecil King, who were the expatriate owners of newspapers at that time, decided not to compete in the same era. So one went to Africa, the other stayed in Latin America and the Caribbean. That paper closed, I went to the Trinidad Guardian, where I wrote for the Guardian and then the Evening News. The Evening News shut down a few years later. I working with The Guardian, there were a number of very experienced journalists, and I learned a lot from them, plus the training that I had with the Mirror. And at that time, there were a lot of things taking place in the country. You had the then Prime Minister was doing Meet the People, Meet the Manufacturers. There was a Better Village competition. And there were a lot of things taking place in the country. And with a new newspaper, how do you maximize readership in rural areas? So I was instructed to go into the communities and find out what's going on. So I learned Trinidad, particularly South Trinidad, from Cedros to Guayari to Couva, anything beyond that, I began to write. And on one occasion, I was at Naparima Bowl when something took place that was not reported anywhere else. And it made the front page of that newspaper. The then editor of the Express, Harry Sharma, called and said, listen, I'm offering you another job. Come and work with the Express. So I went back to the Express, and we tried to double circulation by reporting on lots of things. George Weeks was going after Texaco. Vernon Jamada was having issues in that Rudinat Kapildev had left the parliament and was now lecturing at London University. The cane farmers. Lots of things were happening in the South. So I had lots of opportunities.
So this gave you a wide range of experiences. But today particularly, we want to talk about your present book here today, all right? So tell us, I know you have a wealth of experience and we could spend hours with your experiences here. But I think our viewers want to hear about this new, hot off the press book. So tell us a bit about your book.
This book is called Selected Writings of a Caribbean Journalist. And it really looks at the journey that I have had since the 60s to current. The places in which I have worked, the things that I have done, the people with whom I have interacted with. And I think it makes interesting reading. Anyone interested in the petroleum industry will get a short history and what transpired as we moved from Trintoc to Petrotrin, the Integrity Commission, the Do-Right Champions Competition, the Tertiary Debates Competition. All of these were initiatives that I introduced while I was there. So from the newspapers, the Integrity Commission, Petrotrin, there are stories of things that I have had to interact with, and many of those things, even some of the things that I wrote in those days, are all documented in these 286 pages.
Excellent, because sometimes we lose the history if we don't document it. Sometimes they go, like I was talking to somebody from Cedros, and they talked about some of the past in Cedros. So here you are doing the right thing, and for the right fit, documenting, you have finished your book now. But I want to ask you, what inspired you to start writing, and when do you first realize that you had a story that needed to be heard?
I think the idea of the documenting happened 10 years later. I left and went to Washington, D.C., and I was given a project to write on. And when I was through, the lecturer said it was perhaps, and he quoting, the best project he ever had from a student.
Wow,
and
congratulations.
he gave me a cover letter and he sent it to the Washington Post. And that, of course, as a young student, it opens your eyes. 2 years later, then President Jimmy Carter invited the President of Egypt and the President of Israel for what they then called there was a conference. At the end of that conference, a peace conference, they decided to inform the U.S. Congress about this Camp David Accord, as they called it. And I was saying, well, you from Trinidad, go and see what happens in this place.
Okay.
And write about it. So I went into the Capitol building with everyone else. I sat there very quietly and I observed what was going on. I got to get the names of people correctly. And I wrote about it, the Camp David Accord. And I got kudos from
Well,
two
let us
lecturers.
give you kudos here.
So that, I think, is what started this impetus for wanting to document things. When I started this book, I recognized that there were a lot of anecdotes. You know, I worked, with our first Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Williams. I remember things that he did and said to me. And you work progressively in the Integrity Commission, in Petrotrin, the Ministry of Education. There are things that, very interesting stories that I am perhaps sorry now that I did not document them, but I remember them.
Well, never too late, eh? But, and you're talking and you alluded to Trinidad and Tobago shaping your voice as a local author. How has that really have shaped your voice, themes, and your creative process?
Trinidad has been wonderful. It is not just Trinidad. While I worked at the Prime Minister's office, I was sent to Germany for 3 months. I spent 4 months because I thoroughly enjoyed it. And there were 30 of us, 2 persons from the Caribbean, and the rest from the Middle East and from Africa. And living with people from that part of the world, it was a cultural shock. Some of the experiences coming from this part of the world and living with people there in the 70s for 3 months, sharing a meal, sharing classrooms. You had situations with students who are from different tribes who never communicated. And we decided from Trinidad, you're not leaving here after 3 months like that. You have to, because I remember we had a situation where one student will sit on one end of the classroom, another will sit on the other end, and they will not, if you ask a question, they will not respond because they were from different tribes or from different regions. There were people from, in those days, South Africa, which was at that time under apartheid. I remember we are walking to the subway, and there is a lady sweeping the streets. And this guy decides he's running back to the dormitory to get his camera because he has never seen a white woman sweeping the street, because he needs to go back to South Africa to show this thing. It's on a Friday evening, the ladies are on the street, and there are a bunch of us walking the streets, and these ladies will approach, and you see they have never interacted with somebody of a different ethnicity or way of life. So those were some of the things that you begin to notice. So that was one. I went to Jamaica, Mona, for a while. So I traveled a bit, I saw the world, and I began to document things. Some things are in the book, others are still in the head.
So for viewers out there who now you have piqued their interest, who would like to know, if you have one line to tell them about this book, what would that one line be about this book? One powerful line.
I will tell people, don't burn your bridges.
Ah.
Don't burn bridges. In my lifetime, I have met lots of people, had seen lots of situations, and I have learned that you do not burn your bridge, because one day you may have to go back
and cross the bridge
and get back across that bridge to either people or situations that you have to deal with. And I think some of that is documented here.
Here in the book. Now you had lots of ideas and experiences and travels, but is there any one moment that you could say or idea that sparked, well, yes, I need to write this book?
This book, I did not know my grandfathers on both maternal and paternal side. They both passed before I came into this world. I knew grandmothers and aunts and uncles. And I recognized that what I needed to do was to document something for my son, my nephews and nieces. So I began to put things together, document them. And I gave it to my brother. And he said, oh, no, you have to expand this thing. You need to expand it. What did you do when you worked in these different places, and what are some of those situations that you had to do? So by that time, the book was already laid out. So I now had to go back to the graphic artist and say, oh, we got to do this.
Stop the press.
Stop press. And of course, we had to pull a lot of things out of my father was a school principal. Never went to school late. And he ran his school very nicely, you know. We never went to school late because he could not go to school late because he had to ring the bell in school. So there are a lot of things that growing up we recognized. So those were some of the things the lessons that one learned growing up. So eventually, I had to pull a number of things out of this publication and then change the focus. The graphic artist is the one who said, you are really a Caribbean journalist. So this became Selected Writings of a Caribbean Journalist.
Excellent. So we are hearing how it became that name and everything. How long did this process take place?
The process of the book?
I mean, from start, when the ideas came, to changing the focus, if I may say so, to now getting it out there.
It took us a few months because, as I said, it's selected writings.
So, okay.
So there are things that I wrote when I was at Trintoc, Petrotrin, things I wrote when I was at the Integrity Commission, things I wrote while I was in the media, you know. Some of the characters, the people I had to deal with, and their whisperers, you know. This is a nation with a lot of information, and it needs to be captured. I remember, for example, one publication that I did called Oil and Gas Opportunities in Trinidad and Tobago. The then chairman of Trintoc, Mr. Trevor Bupsing, was a former permanent secretary, called me a day to say that he was going to either Brazil or Chile and to make a presentation. So he gave me some notes and said, write a speech for him. So I did a first draft. And then he said, okay, meet him home one evening and we will go through it. So we sat down at the table and I did what he wanted. But I also wrote a lot more. And when he saw it, he said, Mervyn, I think you need to write a book. And this is what came out of it.
The book came out of that conversation.
Of that conversation.
Excellent.
But before that, I had done something similar.
So you have other books as well?
Oh, yes, I did. Quite a few. Everywhere I've gone, there are
and you
lots
could
of
just
public.
lift a couple of them so that the audience out there can see.
When I was at the
Integrity Commission, we have books
we
there.
have there at Trintoc.
Wow, and that's history, Trintoc.
This is the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries
You
in
just
2000.
turn it so the cameras can pick it up. All right.
They called me one year and said they would like someone to write their annual report.
Okay.
This is...
There you do it, and the next one,
yeah.
you have more.
In
Guide for Investors.
And perhaps one that really took me by surprise. Lake Asphalt. I never worked there, but someone who worked there, a former Trintoc employee, called me to say that they were exporting Trinidad Lake asphalt to the Far East. And they needed to sell their story. What is Trinidad Lake Asphalt about? Because they are paving streets in Japan
With Lake
with Trinidad Lake Asphalt.
Wow.
So they needed a promotional brochure. And this is what came out of it.
Oh, you did the brochure for
I
them.
did the brochure and put it in a nice little
Folder
kit
there.
for them. And this went to Japan. The little publication that I did.
Excellent. So you have a lot of other
Lots of-
work beside your book.
Oh, yes.
And we have some slides which I think is in the
Oh.
book as well. So I would ask our, right, there in the back,
Oh,
they
this-
pull up this one. So you could talk and tell
Yeah, this is the
audience
front,
what it's
the
about.
front and back cover of the book. And I'll just quote one. Roy Mitchell, who is an executive relationship marketing consultant, he had privy to this one. It was in draft form. And he said it was very pleasant reading indeed. I like how you inserted so much history, otherwise unknown, into the conversation. This book keeps your interest alive and entices the appetite to read on. The other persons were Mr. Kenneth Gordon, Miss Marcia Riley, and of course you cannot be a Caribbean journalist if you did not have Julian Rogers,
Okay.
right?
So that's the cover, back and front of the book.
Of
And
the
the
book.
other slide,
Oh,
pictures from the book, inside the book, are they?
Oh yes, these are some of my colleagues when I worked at the Integrity Commission.
Okay.
Yes, that was the team
at the Integrity
at the
Commission.
Integrity Commission when I
One of the
worked
many places that you moved
there.
and worked
And there are quite a few publications I did
for them.
for them, traveled a lot.
This one, 77.
Yes, when I worked at the Prime Minister's office, they were now developing the Point Lisas Industrial Estate as the government, because the South Chamber had initiated that. And you had lots of visitors, including the Secretary of State, who then met with the then Prime Minister. So I decided all of these things, we put them together in a brochure and circulated. The media got copies, all ministries, and what was important at that time was to send copies to all our high commission and embassies. So it was just info. So this was in the 70s. This is just a sample of some of the other things that I have had.
All your publications on
I've had-
Petrotrin.
Yes,
Okay. Twin Talk publications again.
yes, yes. So
All
those
right.
are some of it. Is the sad thing is that with the shutdown of that entity, where are all of these things gone? From what I have told is that many things cannot now be found. Even videos, you had training videos, you had all kinds of things. So this was when I was at the
Integrity Commission.
Integrity Commission.
All right.
We had a meeting. We just went to Tobago and met with then Mr. Orville London and explained. And I told him, let's start a competition among primary and secondary students
I remember
to
that.
do the right thing.
I remember that in the ministry.
This one is Trintok, and these are some of the colleagues with whom I worked. They,
Way back then.
yes, they had computerized the refinery operations. Once upon a time, you had to go out into the field and turn valves and so. Now everything was being done on a computer screen. You controlled everything, valves and everything.
Wow.
And-
Really
and-
history in the
Yes,
making.
yes, and
and
these are historic.
documentation. Oh. And what-
Since I have retired, there are a couple of things that I have tried to do. One is to learn an instrument. It was Theo Ferguson who said, you have to live your life with purpose. And one of the things that I tried to do was to learn to play an instrument.
Okay,
When I was 7 or 8 years old, I wanted to learn to play
can come back to him, right?
I wanted to learn to play the steel band. And my mother said, no way, she's not going to be able to control me once I get into a panyard. So she sent me to learn to play the violin.
Okay.
I did the violin, yes, but it brought back sad memories. Because my mother died, I was 16 when she died. And every time I picked up that violin, it brought sad memories of her. But when I retired, I decided, let's go and learn something. So I picked up the acoustic bass, joined a group, and I provide rhythm. It's always interesting learning to play with others.
They say music is for the soul.
Oh, yes, it calms the mind.
And a pity we didn't get you to play the music here today, but some other time again.
Yes, yes, yes.
So let's go back to your book.
Yeah.
No, it's out there. You will tell people where they can have it, right? Find it, conversations about the book. But what conversation you hope to spark in the communities, the home, the schools about this book?
This book, there are lots of stories that one would want to share about what transpired in the different places in which I have had the privilege to serve, and with some of the people with whom I have had to interact and deal with over the years. Very interesting stories. But I don't know if I caught the drift of your question.
Well, you want as a reader reading this book, all right? But you alluded to some of the history, which is excellent. They would learn about where you worked and a little bit in depth of it, all right? But have you seen readers or writers respond to your work in ways that surprise you?
Oh, yes. Another person who got the first copy of this book, Roy Mitchell, he, after a week, he wrote an article which appeared in one of the newspapers. And he said it was this, or the title now escapes me, but he said it was the story that everyone needed. A master class in journalism. I think that was the headline. He said this was a master class in journalism. That took me by surprise. But you know, you're doing it every day and you didn't realize that there are lots of things that one has had occasion to document and to experience. And one will hope that people will get a copy of this book and they will pass it on.
I'm going to ask you a hard question. You're a journalist, and quick answer. Do you think journalism today is what it should be?
It has changed. In the days when I got involved, there were manual typewriters. They gave you a notebook. You had a manual typewriter. There was no internet. There was no social media. There was a teletype machine and a pile of old newspapers in a corner. I have witnessed the introduction of social media, the internet. Now we have a new crop of people coming in. You know, you have people who are on YouTube. People are writing blogs. So the whole media environment has changed.
Technology changed, transformed
due to technology, and also due to the way people express themselves and the way they conduct business. Times have changed. The media has changed. You look at young people today. In my time, we sat together, talked and laughed a lot. Nowadays, kids are on their mobiles. I remember as a youngster, you had to work on a Sunday. And I had to check the police, fire, the hospitals to make sure there was nothing. It was a Sunday. Things were very quiet. And as young boys, we sat in the office. And of course, with youth, you laugh and you laugh loudly. And there was an editor, Patrick Chokolingo, never forget him, shouted my name and said, "What stories do you have for tomorrow's paper?" My response was, "So you expect me to print a newspaper to say, Critslau said there's no news today?"
Okay, on that note, I know half an hour seems to have gone right out there. But what would you like our readers' thoughts for this book to leave? What message you would like to share out there? And where can they find the book? For half an hour just went and we chatted so long.
Well, this book is really an autobiographical fragment that spans 286 pages. I believe that I have been fortunate through circumstances, passion, and divine guidance to have accumulated a wide span of knowledge and experience that have allowed me to serve not only in the newspapers, but government, press relations, as editor, various petroleum industry, the airports authority. And I think it's a useful read for anyone who wants to find out about these things. The book is just recently printed. I have been dealing with a few bookstores to have the book
In the bookstores.
in the bookstores. And I have also been dealing with the new media, the Amazon.com.
All right, so it's on Amazon for sale.
It has not yet gone up there.
Okay, so that's
So that's where it's going to be, hopefully shortly. I'd let you know so that you can
inform our readers.
inform
So,
readers.
Mr. Critslau, time just went. I thank you for your historical experiences that you shared with our viewers today, and we hope they can find a copy of your book in a bookstore or soon on Amazon. So we'll take a break, and after the break, we'll speak with another local author, Michael Cozier. Thank you for viewing The Right Fit.
Yeah,
Never too early, never too late to recharge and hydrate. Get your daily dose the right way. Grab an oasis, now why wait? Never too early, never too late to recharge and hydrate. Get your daily dose the right way. Grab an oasis, now why wait? The greatest, the safest oasis for sure. Oasis, it's purer than pure.
Construction Services and Supplies Limited has built a reputation over the years on reliability, honesty, and pride, with a qualified and experienced workforce to oversee all projects, commercial, industrial, and institutional. We deliver the highest quality designs, build and remodel equipped for the pulse of construction needs. Construction Services and Supplies Limited, 1324 Southern Main Road in Rapport, 648-8882. That number again, 648-8882. Construction Services and Supplies Limited. We are proud to partner with you.
Fruitopia, the drink that rocks your lunchtime. Fruitopia, Fruitopia, it's a drink that's hype. The citrus punch, fruit punch tastes nice. Guava, pineapple, that give me a vibe. We don't want nothing less compared to the rest. Fruitopia the best. Punch any thirst when it comes to the test. Perfect thing for my lunch. Flavors pack a punch. Fruitopia, Fruitopia, it's a drink that's hype. The citrus punch, fruit punch tastes nice. Fruitopia, the drink that rocks your lunchtime.
Try our new passion fruit flavor today. Taste the passion.
Welcome back. We are viewing The Right Fit on IBN. We are talking to local authors. With me in the studio now is Mr. Michael Cozier. And I will leave Michael to tell you about himself. Michael, welcome to IBN The Right Fit.
Thank you very much.
So I will ask you to tell our viewers a little bit about yourself. I know you have an interesting conversation just now. So let's hear a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I am really from Icacos, Cedrus, right?
And you drove this morning to IBN.
Yeah, from Icacos to IBN, a long drive.
Kudos to him for that.
Yeah, so I went to school in Icacos, Icacos Government Primary School, and then San Fernando Government Secondary School. Right, and after that I began to work on boats And it's an interesting book, and it gave me a chance to see things from a different perspective, how they, sometimes loneliness, sometimes you're making a long drag, 14 days, a month, 2 months. So it was very interesting because I always was enchanted by the sea.
Excellent, excellent. And you're going to tell us about your books. What sparked the idea for your first book, and when did you know it had to be written?
Okay, so growing up in the Carcass, they had a lot of very, very interesting characters. Yeah, because it was a fishing village, and you had people coming from all over Trinidad and even other islands of the West Indies, because it was a rich fishing ground, the Carcass banks.
Yeah.
Even my father was a Vincentian, and he found his way in the Carcass and never left.
Okay.
Yeah, and I always was fascinated by these characters, like when they come out from work, they go to the rum shop, they take some drinks, and sometimes they fight, thing, but very, very interesting characters, and I wanted to share them with the world. And that is when I started to write this first book.
That's your first book, right?
Yeah, Forever, Backward, Never.
Tell you can show it to the audience again. We'll talk about the rest because there are many books. Yeah. All right? Forward.
Ever, Backward.
Ever, Backward, Never. And why you choose that?
Well,
title for the book.
It really was something to do with the union. I was a member of the union, okay. And I find that it was a good thing, forward ever, backward never, because
it's a catchy phrase. I think they use as sometimes. Yeah. And you talked about your experiences. So you wrote these books all drawn from your experiences in Cedros?
A lot, I would say, about 60 or 70% of it is drawn from from me growing up in the village of Carcass and being a member of the Cedros community from a little child, going to school and school sports and all that kind of thing. And I saw so many things like with the coconut estates and the fishing industry and that kind of thing. So it like this one of the book here, Putting Up a Resistance. It's really about a strike on a coconut estate, right? And I wanted to share all these things with the world. Yeah.
And funny, I had somebody who's doing a PhD candidate and she's talking about Cedros and the Carcass. And I mentioned to her we need to document some of this history. And here you are today by divine intervention telling us that that book is about
Cedros and the coconut estate. And it's about our life.
Oh, you see, so our viewers out there, run to the bookstore before it gets sell out. I mean, interesting history, and to the people in your community, I think they would be proud of you to know that you wrote about your community, a local author. And I think in Trinidad, we need to promote that a little more as well. Yeah. All right, so you wrote several books. Which one is your best piece?
Well, this, I think, Putting Up a Resistance, this made it to the final 5 of the Burt Canadian Award for West Indian Authors in 2015.
Okay.
Right, and it was a very challenging book to write. Before this, I wrote 2 collections of short stories, and first attempt at a novel.
This is a novel here?
Yeah, a novel.
Okay.
300 and something pages, and this nearly drive my mother a couple of times because, a lot of more concentration and keeping abreast, and I think it was a real challenge. It was a challenge.
Well, how you overcome that challenge?
Well,
writers, sometimes you lose it, you say, okay, stop. What did you do?
Like, one of the things I used to do with the books is 3 novels and 3 short story collections, right? And whenever I'm doing a novel, I try to do short stories on the side. So if I get kind of
writer's block
on that day, I just go back to the short stories, which was easier and more humorous and that kind of thing.
Okay, so we have one slide, I think, with all your books.
Okay.
And we're just going to show that slide so the audience can see that you have several books. And can you name them for us?
Okay, so the first book, not on the screen, but
Oh, take that one.
All right, take them on. Okay, The Naughty Strike is a very funny book about the ladies in our village, the men only drinking a lot of alcohol and playing playway and all that thing, and they decide to strike.
Oops.
Right? Nothing malicious in it or nothing rude in it or anything like that, right?
Okay.
Okay, the next book, Out of Murky Waters, is a real character building book about a young child who was orphaned. And his father had left him. His father was a guy named Jaffa, and Jaffa left him in the care of the last person that anybody would think that they would want to leave their child in this guy care, because he was like, I won't say a spranger, but he was like a little petty thief and that kind of thing. But Jaffa saw something in this man, right? And this little guy growing up now, he and the character name is Mongu, and he and Mongu really complemented and made each other into better persons.
A good moral story for readers out there.
And it's a whole story about the education system and all too. In the early days, like in the 1960s when I was a primary school student, when you had those strong headmasters and you couldn't be, you wouldn't have schools in the Surrey like how they are now, if you bring back some of them guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And the other one?
I'll take you there as a collection of West Indian short stories, most of them based on the Southwestern Peninsula, like Carcass, Fullerton, Cedros. Yeah. Some very, very humorous. The short stories are very, very humorous. Yeah.
And we have another one down here.
Benford Bailey is another collection of short stories.
Okay.
Right? And is
local.
Yeah, all West Indian stories, local. Benford Bailey, which is one of the stories in the book, is a very special character because he had a disability, but he didn't let it stand in his way. And he conquered and ended up being a real hero in the village, in the Carcass.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other one?
Putting Up a Resistance is about our lives, you know, like how we grew up, the indentured laborers, the people who were brought from Africa, right? And it showed Putting Up a Resistance showed the hardship that they faced on the coconut estate. And it is really about, it's a love story between an African girl and an East Indian boy. And they ran from a racial problem in central Trinidad, and they went on this estate hiding out in the Carcass.
Okay.
Right? And when they went there, they were a lot more educated than the Carcass people because, you know, I think they came with ideas, and when they saw what was going on the estate, you know, that they first had a kind of divide and rule system, right, with the colonial people, and they decided that they would bring the both sides together as one and put up a struggle against the colonial system and the bad wages and harsh conditions that they were working under and things. But there was a lot of problems, they faced a lot of problems, but eventually there's a very, very special character in the book, Mr. Smart, right?
And we will leave Mr. Smart for people to go and buy the book and get the book and read about Mr. Smart.
All right, okay.
Tease them a little bit.
Yeah.
And this one?
Yeah, so Forward Ever, Backward Never is the first book that I wrote,
okay.
right? And what happened, it was, like, I started to write by accident as a young man growing up. I went into the hospital with a book and I was looking for a book to read, and the nurse said, listen, instead of you getting a book to read, I want you to write me a story about the Carcass, because I never went to the Carcass in my life. So I want you to write me a little story about the Carcass.
We come back to Michael now. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So,
and that started it.
And that started it, where, that was the first story I wrote in the hospital, right? And over the years, I continued to write little stories and put them up on things. And I never knew that they were of any worth to any thing. Because I just share them with like my nieces and nephews and friends and family who come home.
So how you realize that it is worth something?
Well, it had this guy came down there, he was doing a book. He was a journalist from England. And he was doing a book on the birds in the swamp in the Carcass. And he asked me to show him around the swamp in a little boat. And I took him around the swamp with a little boat and thing. And then when we went back home by me there and we had lunch and thing, and I just decided to take out one or two of these stories and share it with him. And he started to read and he was like, so you don't have these things published? So I said, no. He said, but you should have these stories and things published. And he even helped me in getting them, the first one
published.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. And you spoke, about one of your books, meeting the birth.
This year.
Final Birth Canadian Award.
5,
But do you think Caribbean authors are getting more visibility globally? And what needs to change?
Well, there are a lot of Trinidadian and West Indian authors out there and who made it from the early days, like V.S. Naipaul and
the classics. Right.
Right. And you know that the Caribbean continue to show these people that we have good writers.
Good talents, creativity.
Good talent, yeah. And because when you watch like all the major prizes in the literature world, you always see a West Indian somewhere up there. Yeah.
Okay, so you want to read an excerpt from one of the books. You said it's a funny part, so let's get you to read a little bit. So tease our audience out there so they whet their appetite, so they will go out there and you're going to read a page for us from one of the books.
Well, 2 pages if we have enough time.
I don't think we have enough time, but get the funny part or the good part for
us. I'll try to read fast. Okay. Right, so I just one of them normal 18-year-old Ikakas fellas out of school and loafing around. I just breezing out the days. When I need a little money, I go to see with the fisherman, or I ask the old lady or the old man and they fix me up nice. I have a little girlfriend right in the village named Amelia. Well, to tell the truth, she's not that good looking, but she have nice ways, and the old lady and old man like her too bad. I know secretly they want me to marry her and settle right there with them, me being their only child and all. Well, things was moving along real nice, and then one day it took a drastic turn. I came from playing football on the beach and started to take a bath from a barrel of rainwater in the yard when I hear somebody say, "Hello, handsome." I look up and see a fine-looking girl in the neighbor's gallery. I said, "Me?" "Yes, you," she said. Well, I started to blush right away because nobody ever called me handsome. I say hello and brisk a slat bath and run inside because I only had on my underpants. When I done dry my skin and put on my clothes, I go on over in the old lady room because my room do have a mirror, and I look in the mirror and say, "Hello, handsome." Well, right away I know something wrong because the thing that's staring back at me ain't have nothing handsome about it. And I don't know that already because everybody used to call me double ugly. So I come to the conclusion that the girl was either blind or she had a fascination with Beauty and the Beast. A little later, I went out on the road and stand up, and along comes the neighbor's daughter, Patsy, with the same girl. Boy, I never see a human being looking like that. The girl beautiful from head to toe. I accustomed to them Ikakas girls with jigger in their foot and the toes sticking out in all directions. But if you see this girl foot, smooth like glass, man, and her toes neat and side by side like soldiers when they're marching, and taught about pretty cutex, I say to myself right away, Frankie, this is the type of girl you have to associate with, boy. Patsy introduced me to her. It was her cousin Cindy from San Fernando, come to spend 2 weeks holidays. 7 o'clock that night, Patsy calling, Frankie, I look outside. Me and Cindy going for a walk on the beach. You want to come with us? Well, I done outside and ready to go. I ain't tell the old lady or old man nothing. I gone touristing on the Ikakas beach with Cindy and Patsy. We walked for hours, Cindy asking me questions about fishing, Venezuela, the stars in the sky, and every now and then she will touch me or bounce me gently. The next thing you know, she slip her hand into my left hand. Well, wow. Boy, I swear to God, I get a stroke on my left side. Okay. Only thing if it's so a stroke does feel, I want to get one over my whole body every day of the year. I have to pinch myself to make sure I'm not dreaming. Me double ugly, walking hand in hand with this beautiful girl on the Ikakas beach.
Excellent. So, if I could clap you, I say excellent. And you have whet the appetite for audience viewing there. And I'm sure they would go. Where can they find all these books?
Okay, so you could get them at RIK. Yeah, you could get them at RIK bookstores throughout Trinidad.
Okay.
And also, you could get them from me if you call, I
You
could
give them your number.
deliver
But
people.
I don't know, you want to share. I know you're
Yeah, I
on
could-
Facebook.
yeah.
Share your number so they could call
so
you.
the number is 731-0209.
Excellent. So they could get it from you as well. You're on Facebook as well, so they could contact you through your Facebook page.
Yeah.
Now, you know, lots of funny books there. I mean, you make me want to go and read that book now.
All right.
All right. What has been the most rewarding part of this journey so far?
Okay. What I really enjoy about the journey so far is like, as have people comment to Ikakas and doing readings to them and things, right? And you know the way how they laugh and you know they really amused, you know, and this make me feel happy.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Which one of your books you really like and you know captures your soul, or what you want to read? Which one is your best piece, you think?
Right. Everybody, most
same
people
one.
think it's this because this is all about our life, where we started from and how we end up where we are now.
Historically.
Yeah, historically.
Okay.
But this book is very dear to me because,
Which one? Let's see
sorry, yeah. Out of Murky Waters.
Why?
This is really about an orphan child, and I myself was an orphan as a young boy too, you know.
Okay,
so
okay.
it was rough journey in the beginning, right? But thank God I had a good sister, Cynthia, and she took care of all of us, right? And I was able to kind of bring to life about this orphan child, this story. Not exactly my story, right? But you know that people, and what I think and all too, this is a book, well, the message is you don't really judge a book by its cover.
Excellent. And I always say your history is not your destiny.
Yeah.
Here they have, you know, something good came out of that relationship, as you said before.
Yeah.
And this is a lesson for us all, Trinidad and Tobago out there. Our books, our authors are here, all right? If one of your book had one core message, what will that be?
It will be to stay humble because you never know what next you're going to meet on the road.
Okay, and funny though that the first author said something, don't burn your bridges and stay humble, same kind of parallel thing, you know, you never know who or what you meet on the road, and stay humble, it gets you where you want to go. And I must admit, you're very humble. I mean, getting you here today was enough of a challenge, but so what message would you like to leave to budding authors?
Okay, like you have to start a book on everything in life. To finish something, you must start it. So you have to get down with your idea and put pen to paper, regardless of how little it is, and try to build from there. Right? And I would, like from my own experience, you know, I always like to write about the simple, ordinary people. Like all these books are about people from my village or people who I met in other villages.
Based on all your experiences.
Yes. I think that people might think, you know, like the whole world want to read about Superman and this and that. But I think that for me, when I read Miguel Street as a young boy growing up, and some of Samuel Selvon book, you know, I was so taken up by these characters because I find these fellas and I'm looking like me.
They inspired you.
It's things that is simple, ordinary people, everyday life people, like what we meet on the streets and that kind of thing. So, like your characters, you know, like when you're writing, you have to have strong characters. And I think that these, you know, like choose your characters. Some right in your village and the simple man who's selling doubles on the corner will have a big long story behind him.
And you know, we need more writers in Trinidad, especially our local culture. You know, it's so rich and varied.
Yes,
At least you're doing Cedros. I must tell Shivani, who is doing her PhD down in Cedros. She's doing it on environment. But to capture some of your stories in your book, the history especially. Because she spoke about the cocoa estate and the train line by the ocean and things like that. Is that in that about?
This
wow.
This book you have a good history of the coconut estates and how things
changed
and
too.
the hardship and the changes and all too. And the changes were brought about by the people. It wasn't brought about by the colonial people. It brought about the people because they choose to do something to better themselves.
And you're making an excellent point here in closing, because we always say, be the change you want to be. You start within yourself and you would see changes there. So what was your closing remark for John Public out there? And congratulations again on 6 books published.
Okay, thank you very much. You know, just like from the, I'll pull back from the topic before, but I will say that try to stay humble in this life. And never judge a book by its cover, because sometimes you might see somebody and you figure, wait, boy, but when you get down into that man's story and you walk a little mile in his shoes, you realize that this is somebody who could have stand the test of time. Yeah.
Excellent. And I must thank you for taking your time from Cedros to drive to all Ikakas, to drive all the way here to IBN studio. But time has gone very fast. And this brings us to the end of today's program. I want to thank Almighty God for this opportunity. Thank my guests, Mr. Mervyn Critslau and Mr. Michael Cozier, for enlightening us about their books, their motivations, and their stories. All right? I must say many thanks to the management and staff of IBN, Brother Hasib, Sadiq, and Sadiqa behind the scene. Join us every Monday at 8 p.m. with a rerun on Saturday at 5 p.m. Drop us a line if you would like to be part of this program or share your story too, some conversation or discussion. You can contact us at 680-9635. If you're unable to see us on IBN on Channel 8, you can view us on Facebook or YouTube. Once again, I am your host, Bibi Ajoda. Stay inspired, stay curious, and keep reading. Good night. Assalamu alaikum.
For the everyday lowest prices on all grocery items, trust local